Welcome to Freezer Milk Podcast. I'm your host, Bridget, along with my husband, Chris. Podcast where we talk about the comedic side and serious side of parenting, life, and relationships. We are boy parents. We have two boys, Enzo and Rhett, with about a 6-year age gap between the two. You can check out our website, freezermilk.com. Also, feel free to follow us on Instagram at Freezer Milk Podcast. Thanks and hope you enjoy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Got some stuff to talk about today.
Yeah. A little bit of stuff.
Yeah. A lot of stuff. I feel like a lot of stuff has happened in the last, week?
Yeah.
Since we did this?
Yeah.
I don't know, 5 days, 7 days. I don't know. It goes by quick and so much happens. It's hard to get into a half an hour podcast. But, no, the one thing I wanted to really touch on is, God, so we live in a neighborhood that is, the oldest house in here is maybe 2 years, I would say.
I think it's 12 months.
Maybe 12 months. Okay,
yeah.
So this is a new construction development. It's in the middle of nowhere. They're all new houses, and every time I drive through the neighborhood, I see one more for sale sign, and that kind of puts me on edge because I'm like, I listen. I try not to follow politics. I don't get involved in it. I'm not blue. I'm not red. I'm just don't care. I don't think.
Yes.
Anyway, so, but I listen to certain radio shows and I listen to certain podcasters that talk about the looming recession or depression or the things that we're, the different things that we have to look forward to.
And in real estate, so we pay attention to the property values and interest rates and
all that good stuff. So I was driving through the neighborhood and another for sale sign went
and
up.
they just bought that house.
They just bought this house maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah, because an investor bought it when it was a new build and then sold it as soon as he closed, and they bought it, 6 months maybe.
Yeah.
I think it was actually, might have been like only 5 months.
Yeah, regardless, it's been quick turnaround.
And they're listing it for quite a bit more.
Yeah,
they bought it for.
Yeah, they're going to make it for.
And they'll probably get it because the houses have been getting significantly more than what we all paid for them.
Yeah, absolutely. But it brings up a good point. Like, it's something that keeps me up, to think about, and something that I'm constantly stressing over is, we're about to have another baby. Mm-hmm. We've got Red Holden, who's under 2 years. Mm-hmm. We've got Enzo, who is 7, going to be 8. And then we got us, that we have to provide for. Fortunately, you work, I work. But from, a lot of people, that's not guaranteed. It's not something that we...
It's not guaranteed for us.
It's not. It's just not guaranteed in general. But I was thinking about how scary it is to think about raising 3 children when we have no idea what's coming. Like, there's so much uncertainty in the world right now, and everybody keeps talking about this is like unprecedented times. We've never seen anything like this. We're heading to a hyperinflation. All of these economic impacts are going to just completely beat us to the pulp, and it's going to be middle class that's impacted, lower class is impacted. And it's something that I find myself thinking about constantly. And we had a discussion about this today, and I came home all fired up. It was like, we're selling the house. We've
been in our house 7 months.
We're selling the house. We're doing this. We're doing that. And I'm like trying to brace for it's going to happen today. But I just think that.
But then I brought a little bit of reason to what's the current rental price and how much money difference are we saving every month? And
if you look at trying to, again, we have a large family now. Mm-hmm. 5 people in our family.
Can't do a 2-bedroom house anymore.
You could, but it's not going to be great.
Yeah.
We raised Enzo in a single bedroom apartment, all 3 of us, but it would not work for 5 people.
No.
Needless to say, even a 2-bedroom apartment is probably $1,800, $2,000 out here.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So to get into these houses, you're not really...
You're about $2,800 for something halfway decent.
Right.
And halfway decent means not complete shit, but probably still at least 20 years old, going to be leaky AC, which out here is very expensive.
Smaller.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to get the luxuries of our home anyway.
No.
So, you know, I get fired up about these kinds of things. I hear certain things, and I bring it home to Bridget, and it's a fire, you know, and I'm like, hey, list it. We're doing it. Let's go. We're getting into a trailer. You know, we're getting prepared for this. I'm like doomsday prepping.
You're like, I'm going to go buy gold and silver today.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm buying gold. I'm buying silver. Not that it's going to help me with any of my, you know,
paying your bills.
Be paying any of my bills, but at least I'll have it in the event that there's an apocalypse and I have something to barter or trade for. But, you know, I don't know. I can't be the only one that thinks like this.
We doomsday prep in other ways than each other. Like, you were almost asleep the other night. And
oh, God. Nothing like being
like
90% asleep and, like, starting to go into La La Land and, you know,
you hear the
then
word fire.
all of a sudden you only hear one word, and it's fire. Really loud coming from Bridget. And I shot up. I was like, what, where? She, the problem is Bridget's mind doesn't turn off at night. So she'll continue having conversations. Even after we've said goodnight and I love yous, she continues to have conversations with me. And a lot of times it just rocks me to sleep. But this particular time, I caught the word fire while I was asleep. And what were you asking about?
So the full question, because I didn't just say the word fire. The way our house is set up is that the master bedroom is like off the living room, and then you have to go like down a hallway, around the laundry room and powder bathroom, and then completely down another hallway to get to the kids' rooms. Like, they're on opposite ends of the house.
Yeah.
And I asked Cree when I was laying there, you know, couldn't fall asleep, and so my brain was like, hey, Cree, if there was a fire in the living room, which is attached to the kitchen, so it would be logical there could be a fire that starts there.
Sure.
And we can't get out of our room, like, to the hallway by your office to then go to the laundry and powder room and then down the hallway to the kids. Could you break through our closet? Because our master bedroom closet shares a wall with, like, a guest bedroom, like, down that hallway already. I was like, could you break through the drywall in the closet? Do we have the tools in the closet necessary to do this? Can we do this now? So I'm like, do we have the tools needed in the closet to be able to break through the drywall in the event of emergency? And, like, should we get glow-in-the-dark tape and, like, tape off, like, find the studs during the daylight and, like, tape off, like, between the studs so that we know exactly where to, like, break open the drywall to get through it?
Like, the interesting thing is she went on this entire rant, apparently, about this, and the only thing that I heard was fire.
Yeah. But, like, that was my brain. I was like, in the event of a fire and we're blocked from our, like, living room area and we can't get through there because it's engulfed.
How do we get the kids?
How do we get the kids? They're on the other end of the house. So we gotta start opening up fucking walls, going through drywall. And then I laughed about, because you do, you know, you've done a lot of different types of construction in your life and you deal with insurance companies and all that. So then I laughed and I was like, now the funnier part would be that the fire's contained to the living room and the insurance adjuster's like, why did you break open drywall in your closet?
Why'd you rip down shelves?
Right. Like, why are we filing this under the same claim? They're like, sir, you don't understand. We had to get to the children. Come hell or high water, fire or not, like, we're going straight through the walls if we have to. And then you're like, well, I don't know how far apart these studs are, if they're 16 or 24. And so, like, I can't guarantee, like, we could fit, especially not my pregnant butt, could fit through these. And I was like, so do we need a saw in the closet? That way if there's a fire, we can cut the studs, like...
I'm like, what am I going to do? Put a Sawzall in my closet and a hammer and just hope for the best?
You're like, I could put a crowbar in there, babe, or a pry bar.
I mean, drywall's not a problem. It's, you know, everything else.
Yeah.
There's plumbing probably running through that wall.
No,
there's electrical.
Nothing. It's only one electrical wire 2 feet up.
Well, at least you know that.
I do. Yeah. But, like, I went on a full, like, my panic mode. Mm-hmm. Like, you panic, you know, we just panic about different things. My panic mode was like, we need to mark it off in glow in the dark tape. So, like, in the event of fire, we're disoriented. Like, we know exactly where to hit the wall. We're good to go. We know where our box is that we want to cut through. And, like... I
think that's one thing that I appreciate about you and me and our relationship. You think about, logistics surrounding our safety and our health, and I think about logistics surrounding future and generational wealth and all that stuff. So I think we complement each other really well when it comes to that. I just don't like having that conversation when I'm asleep.
At 10:30 at night.
At 10:30 at night. It's black and there's a fire.
Oh, I was like, the funny part is, like, in my head, I was going so much further. I was like, we should, like, preemptively, like, just take down the shelves in that section already. Like, we should have this ready in the event there is an emergency. We have a second escape out of our room and we can get to the kid. Like,
I'm like, can I just...
And then I was like, we could jump out the bathroom window and then try to go back in, like, Rhett's window.
But I don't think you understand how hard it is to break one of those windows.
That's what you were telling me. You're like, Bridget, it's really hard to break these.
I mean, you'd have to hit the corner with something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, full panic, though. 10:30 at night.
Like I said, I'd rather just put in a door from our closet to the laundry room and call it a day.
We definitely can look at that option. Until then.
But next time, let's have that conversation when I'm awake.
Until then, we're going to put the tools in the closet and in our master closet that we need.
Yeah.
Just in case.
What was it? We were driving. I think we were dropping Enzo off at his dad's. And I don't know how we got on the topic. We were talking about puppies because his dad breeds puppies. And then we were talking about babies for some reason. What did Enzo say to you in the car that made you feel indifferent?
I had to bite my cheeks from laughing out loud. So he was like, well, Mom, like, you give everybody babies. And I was like, what? No, I don't. What do you mean? He's like, well, like, you gave my dad a baby, you gave Cree a baby, you're giving Cree another baby, like, you give everybody babies. And I looked at Cree and I was like, did I just get slut-shamed by a 7-year-old? What the fuck just happened?
God. Back to the kids say the darndest things, huh?
I was like,
I
have two baby daddies, okay? It's fine.
No one could ever make you question yourself or make you feel so insecure more than your own children.
I still remember when I was pregnant with Rhett, and Enzo and I were eating, like, dinner or something, and I ate mine really fast, because you and I have talked about this, like, we eat extremely fast.
Yeah.
Like, you would think that someone's going to take our food, like, it's not healthy, but we just eat extremely fast. I think it's because of work and young kids and realizing, like,
you got to be quick.
You got to
move. You can't just sit down and relax and eat your meal.
No, and definitely not out in public. Like, you got to scarf that down, and
otherwise you're not getting it. You're backing it up and taking it home.
Yeah. So I ate my meal fast, and Enzo looked at me. He's like, "Wow, Mom, you ate that really fast." I was like, "Yeah, baby was hungry." He said, "No, Mom, it was just you. You were hungry." I'm like, "Fuck, you're so brutal."
I mean, he doesn't really necessarily know what he's saying.
No.
Or how it's coming off, but at the same time, it was funnier than shit. I was like, I think he just called you a slut.
Right? I was like, I think he fucking did. Mom, you give everybody, excuse me, I have given 2 people babies. That's it. That is like the normal thing in today's generation. Everybody has blended families, which means there's multiple baby daddies.
Oh, man.
I was just like, what? I just got slut shamed.
Enzo's out of control. What was it? We were since we're not able to really travel right now, because that's a podcast for another day, just talking about traveling with small children.
But it's just parenting in another state.
Yeah, I mean, it's just exhausting. Mm-hmm. So we don't travel a whole lot, and our hobbies include, do-it-yourself stuff, and so I took on a new project building a credenza for our room out of extra stuff that we had laying around. And you were sitting out there and you were on your phone just because you liked hanging out with me in the garage. But you were sitting out on the phone, you got an email. Who'd you get an email from?
My fucking mother.
What did that email say?
I think it literally, hold on, I'm going to pull it up. It's, like, we've talked about the fact that she's a narcissist. Like, she has no concept of how to not be a narcissist. The email is titled Rhett. And it says, "May we please have a photo of Rhett? Thanks. Sent from my iPad." So that tells me 2 things. That tells me, A, this is not premeditated. Like, it was just from the hip. sending it from her iPad. She didn't, like, sit down with my dad and be like, hey, like, we know Red exists now, which I still would love to find out how they found out. You know, we knew at some point they would find out, but it'd be intriguing to know, like, the backstory of how they found out.
Yeah.
Which we'll never know. But, so, there was no sitting down with my dad. There was no, like, you know, maybe we ask Bridget nicely for a picture. No, just a fucking demand. Or a request, not a demand. She said, please. So, a request. May we please have a photo of Red? Thanks. Doesn't even say from mom and dad, just sent from my iPad. I was like,
what was the request that she had in the email, 2 months ago?
Can I have a photo of Enzo?
That's it. Nothing else.
Nothing else. Prior to that, it was, can I have your address?
So would you do an interview?
I got fucking mad. Like, I was talking it through with you, and I was just like, this is so ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Like, we opened up the communication via email because we had zero contact for like 18 months because we're over 2 years now that we haven't really had anything with them. So we had zero contact for like 18 months, and we opened up email as a goodwill gesture. But it's been fucking request after request after request, and I'm like, is my dad fucking alive? How is he doing? You know, like, how are you doing? I don't really give a shit, but how's dad? You know, something. Like, give me, at least form a sentence and have a conversation and not just request.
Yeah, it gets old.
It does. It's just, it's no way to try to have, like, rebuild a connection. So I finally was like, fuck it, you know, I don't have anything to lose in this situation because I already have cut you guys out of my life, and you guys create a more peaceful environment for me when you're not in my life. So, like, I'm going to speak my mind about this. So I replied back, and I was like, these one-sentence request emails are very off-putting. I was like, it's typical behavior of a narcissist to just take. That's what these emails come across as. Because I told my mom to her face, like, hey, you are a narcissist. You have extreme narcissistic behaviors. She and my dad went to therapy for like 10 fucking years, and the therapist told them the same thing. Linda's a very selfish person. It's all about her, and that's not a healthy dynamic for a relationship. So I said, why no life update on dad and you? Does he still pickleball, skydive? What adventures have you gone on, etc.? Why no attempt to hold a conversation via email? Just request. I said, can we have a picture of Enzo? Can we have a picture of Rhett? Can we have your address? I said, what have we gotten in exchange for these photos? Nothing.
No.
And I left it at that. So she replies back. And I actually got like 3 paragraphs from her. But she's like, oh, well, we didn't know you wanted any info on how we were doing. That's why we've only sent requests. And then she fires off questions. How are you doing? Do you still work at the same place? Do you live at the same place? Did Enzo finally outgrow different stuff that he had going on? How was your pregnancy? I'm like, Jesus. And then she's all, thanks for asking about us. We're fine. Dad's not playing pickleball, and skydiving ended because of old age. Travel's only by car, except for a flight to Maryland. It would be a good idea to meet up.
I still don't understand why your dad doesn't reach out.
I don't even know.
You might not.
I don't know. Like, I know. Yeah, we'll go into that in a second. But she's like, it might be a good idea to meet up to share further updates and see how you all are doing. No.
Hell no.
Hard pass, ma'am. Hard pass. I didn't respond to it because I was like, I don't even know what to say. Like, all you did was come back and basically want to be a nosy, nagging person again. Well, where do you live? Where do you work? You know? No.
And our moms are kind of similar. Like, my mom called me, a week ago? And it was a fire because...
Full panic.
Her brand new air conditioning unit that's in her air handler that's in the ceiling in her closet leaked, and it soaked her closet. Well, she had, a restoration coming out, a mechanical vendor coming out, and she was freaking out. So me and you went over there just to make sure that everything was all right. Well,
she was like, I don't know how to talk to them.
Yeah, pretty much.
I need you to drive 45 minutes over here each way.
The only time she calls...
Right now.
The only time she calls is when she needs something.
Yeah.
She calls me today because her boyfriend's house had a leak underneath the kitchen, and it soaked all of the downstairs. She couldn't figure out how to turn off the water. I had to talk to her. I had to talk to the restoration company. It's like nonstop. I'm like, hey, why don't you call me and say, hey...
How are you doing?
How are you doing?
Tell me about
or
what's going on.
I don't know how many times you're going to tell me that you're going to come over here and you don't, or how many times to spend with your grandson.
Or you come over here and you don't spend time with him and you want to just talk our ear off about your fucking problems.
Right. And it's a similar situation. My mom is just, she's a little bit different.
Yeah. I don't think she's as extreme of a narcissist, and she has better social skills. You know?
Yeah.
Like her social etiquette, she's a little bit better. She's not much better, but she's a little bit better.
It's just exhausting. Like, these, I don't know how many times my mom's offered to come over here on, like, to alleviate some of the childcare that we have, to watch Rhett. And she'll come over here and she won't even watch him. I feel like I have to
watch her,
watch him. Yeah. And I'm like, I have to work. Like,
she wants to come and, like, sit in your office and talk to you, and you're like, I'm working.
I'm in the middle of a bunch of shit, and you want to talk about this stuff. So we don't even really bring it. She keeps offering it, hey, I'll come over on Fridays. And I'm like, no, I'm good.
She's not reliable.
I'd rather try and watch my son and try and work at the same time.
She's not reliable, and she doesn't understand kids,
not anymore, because she wasn't around, she wasn't around when we were young.
No, she talked about how she stopped nursing you guys and went back to work when you were like 7 weeks old.
Right.
But it's just, it's...
we both have, like, I don't know. I think my mom's quite a bit better in that sense. Like, she's easier to deal with, but she can also be a fucking nightmare.
Like, she will, push comes to shove, like...
She'll show up.
If we had...
maybe.
Financially, if we had a financial struggle, push comes to shove, there will be a lot of strings attached, but she would help.
Yeah.
My parents, no. Not at all. They're like, oh, when I moved out, when I was 18 and got my first apartment, they're like, we'll physically help you move, but we're not paying anything. You want trash bags? Like, you got to buy it yourself.
Who was it we were talking to, or you were talking to, and they were talking about we had gotten the parent lottery, or
we hadn't.
We hadn't gotten the parent lottery.
I was talking with my midwives about, because they were kind of asking about, like, support systems and all of that, and I was talking about how, like, we don't have a local support system, and I kind of went into the fact that, like, I said we did not win the parent lottery by any stretch of the imagination, like, either one of us. And I think the midwife just, like, was so shocked that someone was so, like, blunt about it. Like, she just threw her head back and laughed so hard. She was like, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that. I was like, oh, it is fact, 110%. And I was like, case in point, my parents moved to Arizona from Maryland to be around their grandson, but moved 2.5 hours away, and then would guilt trip shame me into the fact that I wouldn't bring my 2-year-old up 2.5 hour drive each way, at least once a month to see them, but never offered to come down to Phoenix.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, we didn't win this parent lottery whatsoever.
Your mom is all about what it conveniences her.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think we're closer with your aunts and your cousins.
We are. It's so crazy. Like, I was talking with, so we had the one cousin that we're super, super close with that, like, vacationed with us, and, like, he's like a brother. Like, we adore him.
Yeah, we had him on a podcast.
We did. He was our guest speaker. The only one we've had so far.
Yeah, we got to get some more guest speakers.
I know. But he's amazing. Like, he is literally like a brother. Like, how I would expect a normal functioning family brother to be. Right. He shows up.
Even your aunts show up. They send cards. They send cards for Rhett. They send cards for Enzo. They send them for you. Like, they're constantly sending stuff just to let you know that they're thinking about you. Yeah.
So, the cousin that we like...
What is that like?
The cousin that we like, his mom, Denise, is just... My relationship with her has just bloomed so much in the last probably, like, 10 to 12 years. Yeah. Like, growing up as a kid, like, we weren't super close, She was an adult and I was a child. But probably the last 10 to 12 years, like, I talked with her yesterday. I called her when I was on the way to the midwives and just shot the shit with her for an hour, and she was asking all about life, and I was asking about her life, and we were talking about what's going on at her house, and, she was asking about the boy, like, just normal, hypothetically normal family dynamic that we don't really have a lot of exposure to.
They were looking at a house, too. They had questions for me.
That's my other aunt. That's Camille.
Yeah.
So, my other aunt is building down in North Carolina, and my sister sees her a lot because it's like a 5-hour drive. I haven't seen her in years, but we bond over new builds, and we've both had a couple of new builds now, and all that fun stuff. So the build they're in now, they're hitting the same supply chain issues that everybody is. And so she texted me the other day, and she sent a picture of the house, and she's like, "Hey, if it's not too much trouble, can you have Cree look at this? Like, I just have some questions. I want to make sure we're okay from, like, water standpoint, like, is this, barrier on the exterior gonna, like, get moldy when they put brick up? Like, just asking nice questions. But she's one of the ones that she constantly sends cards and birthday, stuff, and organizes, like, little family Zooms and...
Yeah, that side of your family's great. Like, I don't have any, like,
no.
The only one that actually ever does anything is my sister, the sister that's still alive. And she, every once in a while, if I'm having, like, a rough time, she'll send me a Starbucks gift card or something like that. Remember
when I told her to?
You had COVID or something, and you were down and out, and I was running double duty.
She will do okay if I, like, give her specific instructions on what to do.
Yeah.
But most of her stuff is self-interested.
Otherwise, like, none of my other family is... I never see them. Like,
I was thinking about it today, and I was like, we would take my cousin on vacation with us anytime.
Yeah.
Like, he's fantastic to vacation with. I've never gone on vacation with my sister.
Like, we used to go on my mom only because she would get, like, timeshares in California that we didn't want to pay for.
Yeah. But, like, I have 9, used to be 10, now 9 cousins, and I'm close with, like, significantly close with one of them. Which is fine. But the rest of them I don't really talk with very often. Like, they don't know my day-to-day. I don't know their day-to-day.
Yeah.
So there are a couple good eggs, and of course they're all on the East Coast.
Yep. Nowhere near us.
No.
Yeah, so our support system here isn't the strongest, to say. We got each other, though.
And we have our nanny, who's amazing.
Our nanny's better to us than...
Yeah. Anyone else in the state.
Yep. So...
She's awesome. She and I were talking today, and she was like, it's just so mind-blowing, that both of you guys did not win the family lottery. And she's like, I never realized how much I, like, appreciated growing up. Like, she was telling us, she's like, my mom was probably the best mom I've ever seen.
I'm like, what is that like?
Right? I said that to her out loud. I was like, I don't even know what that's like. And she was like, it's so crazy because I don't know any different. But she's met your mom, and she's heard the stories and seen the interactions, and she's just like, it's mind-boggling that people are like that with their kids.
Well, and then, like my mom, I'm always concerned that, because I was raised by her and raised by my dad, that I'm going to treat my kids the same way and end up like them. But again, I think that's a conversation for a different day. We can dive deep into Chris's psychological issues and childhood, but we'll be here for a long time.
Everybody has generational trauma. Every single person. No matter how great of a parent you are, your kid will need I think
the only advice I can give you is just keep everybody that's in your day-to-day as close as possible.
Yeah.
And just enjoy the time with them.
And it's okay to, like, build your own family, you know? Like,
we do. Like you said, our nanny. We brought her in, and she's fantastic, and, we would consider taking her on a vacation with us, not just to watch the baby, but, we consider her part of the family. So...
Rhett adores her.
Yeah, Rhett loves her to death.
Oh my gosh.
My mom came over a weekend ago, and we were sitting in the garage, and Rhett's walking around the garage, and my mom comes walking in, and she gets down. She's like, Rhett, hey, buddy, how's he doing? And he immediately starts crying, and he runs, and he comes and runs into me, and he's terrified. And
he's like trying to claw his way up you.
It just shows how much he doesn't know her.
How much she doesn't know her, and how much she doesn't know babies, especially toddlers. You don't arrive and immediately get in their face.
Yeah, he did that with Amy. Yeah. And Amy's got kids, young kids.
Yeah.
Amy showed up and
same thing.
He freaked, and he ran straight to me and hid behind me, and I'm like, this is like my sister and my mom, and that's how much they're not involved, you know?
But it's crazy because, like, my cousin hasn't seen him as much as your mom, but has seen him much more than your sister. Right. But, like, when he comes over, he's not immediately like, hey, buddy! Right. He's like, he just will sit down and wait for Rhett to decide, like, oh.
It's time.
You're on the couch. Like, I'm going to come see who you are.
Yeah.
And, like, you're going to play peekaboo because it's my favorite game. How did you know? This is so fun. Like, it's just interesting to see people that get toddlers and babies and people that just don't understand them at all.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. We appreciate you listening to our family squabbles and
Our non-lottery winning family.
I hope everybody has a good remaining rest of the week, and
talk to you next week.
Hug your kids.
Yes.
Thanks everybody for listening. You can check us out at
freezermilk.com
or Instagram.
Freezer Milk Podcast.
Until next week, guys. Thanks.
Don't forget, parenting is a trip. We are all here on the journey with you together. Thanks so much for listening.